Event is starting. Well, how's it going, guys? Angus here from Makers Muse. I think this is working. Sorry for the very late notice of a stream. I figured I've got a little bit of time. Figured now is as good a time as any to actually give you the first stream in the new space. Still lots to set up, but heaps far in the last week or two. We got Gibran in the chat, Squid Films, I Say, Victor, Pepperoni Pizza, Glitched Up Props, Zombie Empire, King Creeper, Yosef, 3D Tech, Alan, Richard. Wow, so many of you guys, so quickly. Yeah, I'm sorry if it's early or really late for you. I don't know what time it would be. Like, it's 5:30 p.m. here in Australia. Granny's is like, sure, it's not the same room, you've just turned the furniture around. No, it's definitely a different room. Same bloody coloured wall, though. I mean, what is it with awful, like, bleached yellow beach coloured walls? It just looks horrible on camera, and everywhere we look has it. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. It's been an interesting day. I'm actually off to Perth shortly to join family for Christmas, and I've been filming videos all day for you. And we've, finally got everything in place. Had to deal with some real estate fun times. I mean, if you ever moved, you will be familiar with how much of a pain real estate agents are with, like, oh, but this is damaged and it wasn't when you moved in. It's like, yeah, that was broken when we moved in. So we had to deal with that today, and great. So yeah, thanks for joining. Have a look at the chats. Watching from Dubai. Awesome, man. Thanks for joining. That's so cool. We got people from Taiwan. 1:30 a.m. in Detroit. That's cool. Oh, man. So I don't really have anything planned as such to chat. I just wanted to sort of see if, for a start, the internet streams properly. It's saying good. It did say average, like not that good when I started, but it seems to be pretty healthy. And fill you in with what's been going on. We got Shivel in the chat. Just signed a new lease today and not looking forward to moving out to talk with the agent. Oh man, that's such a pain. Yeah. I mean, I had lots of 3D printers, but I was always very careful. But the place we used to live in was pretty terrible. And they're like, oh, there's all these scuffs everywhere. It's like, they were there before. I took photos. Yeah, fun times. I don't have too much to really plan to talk about, but I did want to fill you in for a few things. I've been kind of out of the picture a bit, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the Patreon stuff that's happening. Also, thank all of you guys for helping out William Osman with the whole fire tragedy. That whole thing over there in California is horrendous. It's just a firestorm, basically. So, really appreciate you guys chipping in if you have for that. And yeah, it's I never stop. I've kind of got some stuff set up there. Just did the M300 review, if you haven't seen, of the Zortrax M300. So that's finally done. But there won't be any more reviews till next year. Mr. A. Myatt saying, got any NBN at the new place? Yes. It's a critical importance that I get fiber to the premises wherever I live now, because I need it to do this. I cannot do this from crappy broadband, ADSL2, whatever. I tried, at my old parents' house, they had ADSL2 and, no, they had cable actually, they upgraded, and the upload speeds are abysmal, absolutely abysmal. So you need fiber to the premises to get anything decent done in Australia. Yeah, Toki HD saying streams crazy good, must have some crazy good Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's a pretty good Wi-Fi, but I think it's mostly the fiber to the premises that does it. I do have the window open, so I do apologise if you hear lots of squawking and squeaking. The local parrots we have here are rainbow lorikeets, and they make this sort of like that's not what they sound like, noises. Doves and things. People are coming home. Yeah, that's a rainbow lorikeet. They're all coming home. Someone's asking how is Lady Muse going. She is fantastic. She's currently playing Subnautica downstairs. Yeah, that's a really fun game. I really quite enjoy it. Zombie Empire has to go to bed. I will miss you, but thank you for jumping in. You got 3D Maker Noob. Welcome. Welcome. It's been, as I said, a very busy day. Hey, got Kevin in the chat. I've been good. It's been a while since we've talked. Welcome back. Yeah, so I suppose what to fill you in on. The Patreon thing's an important one to hit on first. As you would know, many of you support me on Patreon, which I really appreciate. However, they have done a recent change, or the change is going to come into place soon, which changes who pays the fees on transactions. Previously, it was me. Like, I was the creator, and I would pay the fees. Now, you pay the fees, which they tried to sell it to us as a positive thing, saying that we'd get more money. But what it actually does is means you, supporting creators, pay more money. It's the same thing, it's just they've just shifted who pays the fees. Which is fine if you're just supporting one creator, but a lot of you I know support lots of creators for $1 each. So you might support 10 creators for $1 each. And then you have a transaction fee on each dollar, which is ridiculous. I completely understand how ridiculous that is. So, if you've dropped from Patreon, I completely understand, and a lot of creators have actually frozen their Patreon accounts. I am planning to do something different next year that will move away from Patreon, but for now, look, if you support me on it, thank you, but if you don't like the changes, then by all means, I appreciate your support up to this point, and if you want to leave, that's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Ritual saying we want you to prove that you have more room for printers. So the new space, this is just one of the rooms. There is another room the same size. I do have the camera pointed away from the window, which is here, because the light's too bright and it's overloading the sensor on the camera. But I do have a garage. That's the biggest change from this space. The other space had a carport that would flood, so I couldn't put anything there except my cars. But the new space here has a garage which is fully locked up, so I can put stuff in there, and that's where I was filming the M300 Zortrax review yesterday, in that garage. So it has good lighting, which is nice, but it's fully enclosed and protected, so that's where the M300, the Raze N2 Plus will live, and we might be getting a proper CNC. Well, I have a little CNC, but we might be getting a bigger CNC, and maybe laser cutters in the future. That's where they'll live. So it's not so much heaps more space, it's more usable space, I suppose. That's the way to put it. Will, that 3D print guy saying the heat is here, you will love it. Great. I'm totally looking forward to that dry Perth heat. Yeah, some of you are asking technical questions. I'll give it a shot. Who was asking? Kaya Lich is saying, what should I use to level my bed? I actually did a video quite a while ago on leveling printer beds and setting nozzle heights for different systems. Each printer's different. I'm going to assume you have one of the more common i3 designs with the 4 screws and springs on each corner. So what you want to do is home your printer, move it to just up to the bed, and move the nozzle between each spring, bringing it up to about like a piece of paper folded over itself twice, that distance. That's a good way to level your bed and a good way to start. Shivel laying down the band hammers. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. 3D Print Kids asking what camera do I use. This is the C920 webcam. I've had it for about 3 years, I'd like to say. And it's proof that you don't need an expensive camera to do YouTube videos, because most of my old videos were recorded with this, and all my screen share tutorial videos are recorded with this. So yeah, it was about $120 Australian, and it's perfect. Yeah, no issues. Kevin's saying he finally found a use for his 101 Hero. For those who don't know, I backed a project for a machine called the 101 Hero 3D printer. And back in 2016, I did a few like should you back it video series where I would analyze Kickstarter campaigns. I'm not really going to be doing that again, because I stopped it because I didn't want to give the impression that I was believing in a project, because a lot of them often fail. Like Tico fell over. But the 101 Hero, I was like, I'm not expecting this to arrive. I expected it to be crap, and it actually arrived, which was hilarious. I'm actually going to do a video towards the end of this year of me hitting my predictions that I started at 2017 to see if they've come true or not. So look out for that. 3D Print Creator, is your new place only your studio, or do you live here also, or also live there? Yeah, I live here as well. It's a 3-bedroom duplex. So one of the bedrooms is mine to sleep in, and the other ones are creator spaces. It's the only affordable way to run this channel. I would love to have an external space that's just for the channel, but there is no way it's profitable to do that. It works nicely like this, but it's a good reason why I don't have helpers or employees or anything like that. Like, beyond the cost aspect of it, it's my house. And I can't do it. Maybe in future, but not right now. 3D print nerd. Dang it, I'm trying to be productive and here you are streaming. Sorry, not sorry. I just wanted to jump in and do a quick stream, guys, because I wanted to see if the internet worked and I wanted to see how the space looked on camera. It looks alright. I mean, it could be better. I've just put some random stuff in these shelves. Like, I've got the Warhammer and the March Hare, Chonksy X1. I do have to say, and I apologize profusely for this, guys, but there will not be another part to the budget makerspace video till January. I just ran out of time. I've been trying to set it up. The next one is the furniture and setup. I just have not been able to hit that mark. I've been traveling for family events, I've been moving, I've been cleaning, and I've just not been able to hit it. So, sorry, but it will be in January when we'll be picking up the budget makerspace project again. Shane saying, are you out of the Gong area now? No, I'm actually still in the Gong area. I'm literally walking distance from my old place, just to a bigger premises, slightly nicer. But yeah, no, I'm never leaving the Gong. This is awesome. Super D63, hi, I'm a 13-year-old who's been designing on Tinkercad for about a year, and you inspired me, and I learned to use Fusion 360. Now I'm really good, and I love the software and you. Dude, that is awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know. That's so cool. If you're 13 and you're using 3D design software, you're going to be unstoppable when you're older. Just keep at it. That is amazing. I wish I had the opportunity to do that when I was 13. I didn't, and I'm so jealous of that. Yeah, El Nero Diablo, Angus is literally working from home. Yes, I am, which is why I often edit videos at 11 o'clock at night, so last night was like 1 o'clock or something, by the time I got the Zortrax M300 review out. Yeah, I'm often working quite late, which means I can sleep in a little bit, but it doesn't really counteract it, because I just end up staying up later doing more work. Yes. Peter Plays, what's your opinion on dual color 3D printing? Is it worth the purge blocks? A lot of awesome creators have done videos talking about the purge block ratio. Joel, Jatman, I think even Joe 3D Maker Noob did a video on the purge blocks of say the Prusa multi-material upgrades. Look, not really. I honestly think dual color is a bit of a gimmick still. I'm sorry, but it's cool. It's absolutely cool. And if you're printing multiples of the same or similar objects, you can get away with the same size purge block and you get a better ratio of print to purge block. But I want to see multi-material printing. Now, I tried to run a semi-flex through my multi-material upgrade Prusa, which was the Fibology semi-flex, and it didn't work. It jammed. Luckily, not permanently, but it didn't survive the retract. So when I get back from this Christmas fiasco we do every year, I'll be testing out the Palette Plus with some semi-flex to see if I can do some semi-flex and rigid prints, which should be cool. Lord Garth, are you Makers Muse? Are you getting a Prusa Mark III? No plans. I haven't pre-ordered one, and I don't think Joseph needs to do any review units, so no plans at this stage. But I know Joe, again, 3D Maker Noob, just got one. So you can definitely check out his videos on it in future. Town Hero, hey Angus, thanks for all your informative and entertaining videos. What do you think needs to happen in order for 3D printing to become more mainstream and less niche? Good question. I really don't think 3D printing has a place in the mainstream. I view 3D printers, and I always have, as a tool, like a drill press, or some aspects. Another good analogy is like an A3 size scanner. Like if you're an artist and you want to scan into a computer, like you have big drawings, you want to scan A3 size artwork, but not everyone has a need for that. I think 3D printing is similar. Like there's not going to be a case where everyone needs a 3D printer. But I think they're getting easier and lower cost, and we're going to see a consolidation of reliability. There's a dog just going crazy now. Everyone's coming home, so yeah, great. So I think we're going to see them become more reliable and more affordable, but not so much mainstream. I don't think it's going to happen. 2014, people really thought that they were going to go mainstream. I don't think so. Kevin's saying, I will work with you from my studio in Texas. That'd be pretty funny, sending a print all the way to Texas and back to Australia to get cleaned. Yeah, we got Unlikely and Bryce. Welcome, very, very much welcome to the chat. Again, guys, if you're just joining me, this is not really anything too much planned. This will be the first stream. This is the first stream from the Makerspace. From the new studio that I've got here. And then I've got lots of stuff going on over Christmas, so there'll be another stream, probably from another location, and then we'll be coming back here in January. Kaya's asking, Makers Muse, when did you get into 3D printing? How did you get into it, and how old? I first came across 3D printing when I was still in high school. We went to a university opening at UTS, University of Technology Sydney, and they had really large Stratasys systems. But keep in mind, guys, that this patents for FDM 3D printing only ran out like 2007-ish. So before then, you couldn't really do much with 3D printers. And I first saw them, like, as I said, I was high school, like 16 years old or so. But I first really got to embrace them when I actually studied industrial design several years later. So I bought my first printer when I was 21 or 22. I'd like to say 21, which is the Up Mini. I think it might have been 22. I was using them up for a while, but I couldn't afford them. They were really expensive. The Up Mini originally was a $1,500 Australian. Took a while to save up for it, but it paid itself off in the first semester instead of using other systems. So yeah. And I've been using them ever since. I've had many jobs using printers. Dudeson's asking about RoboWars. No new bots as yet, but there is some competitions coming up next year in Queensland, and I will be attending, and I will be building robots for them. Absolutely. Torstein, is it your dog? Nope, it is not my dog. It is someone else's, and it's being very, very loud and obnoxious right now. Alan's asking, how hard is it designing models? Not very hard. Give it a shot. I have a series called CAD for Newbies, which walks you through proper parametric design using Fusion 360, which is free for education or startups. A lot of people think it's paid. It's not. You can get it for free. Otherwise, try Tinkercad. Tinkercad's very easy to use. It's designed for primary school kids, so you should have no issues getting into it. Lucas is saying, hey, I am looking at the CR10, but I've also seen cheap Core XY kits online. I'm getting the 3D printer for tinkering. Should I get the CR10 or the cheap Core XY? Depends how cheap the cheap Core XY is. Some of you may remember my review of the Flying Bear Tornado. That was something. That I wouldn't really recommend unless you really want to replace pretty much everything. The CR10, on the other hand, works out of the box. It just responds positively to upgrades. So I would probably go with the CR10, to be completely honest. And then maybe use the CR10 to print a custom Core XY. That would probably be more accurate. If you're trying to use it as a hobby, like as a tinkering thing, that's probably what I would do. Let's see. Oh man, so many of you in the chat. Super D63 saying, I asked my mum for a Kodama Obsidian. Decent printers. I'm yet to see them released yet, but my pre-production was okay. Um, yeah, so you can not use the local makerspace. Yeah, I did a stream not too long ago talking about local makerspaces and the sustainability of the makerspace concept. I do still find it a bit of a struggle to prove the financial viability of a makerspace. Bruce, thank you so much, Bruce. Oh man, if you guys don't know Bruce, he's the owner of 3D printing systems who supply the Up printers in Australia. And he's the guy that hooked me up with my first ever Up Mini. So shout out to Bruce. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Awesome. EB3D Plus is saying, what do you think the highest price prosumers will pay for a 3D printer, seeing how Ultimakers just pushed that to $5,000? Really good question, actually. The review I did recently of the Zortrax M300 quite clearly demonstrates that there's a huge resistance to expensive printers. I'm just going to close this window because this dog's going bonkers. Stupid dog. Yeah, like the Zortrax M300's $4,000 US. And that's a lot of money. And while it might have been okay 4 years ago or 3 years ago, now, even though it's a big printer, not many people are okay with that. So I think $1,000, like the price of the Prusa Mark III, is probably the upper limit now for what people who are just hobbyists will spend on a good machine. Companies are different. It's not their money. Like I said in my budget makerspace video, you can get cheap hardware for cheap computer hardware because they didn't pay for it. The company paid for it. A $5,000 3D printer for a company, is a business expense. Like Makers Muse is a legitimate business, and me, if I went to buy a 3D printer, is a write-off against tax. And it's a very different system, whereas if you're an individual, it's your own money. You're not getting any of that back, unless you can prove it's for your work purposes. So yeah, I think $1,000's like the limit these days, to be honest. Chris, thanks so much for the $2. Watching you while tuning your Mark III, stop over. Cool. I'm so glad to see the Mark III's out in the wild now. That's awesome. And Ron, thanks so much. Have a cheap drink on me. I'm enjoying my vanilla Coke. I'll be honest, it's very hot. It's getting into summer now in Australia, and it's starting to warm up a lot. We're going to see almost 40 degrees Celsius later in the week. And as I said, I'm going to Perth, and that's going to be really hot. As Will just mentioned before. William's saying, thinking of buying a Raise 3D N2 Plus, what's the best large volume printer? I think most of you in the chat will probably agree that the CR10 is the best for your bang for your buck large format printer at the moment. The CR10 is not as heavily built as the Raise N2 Plus. I mean, that machine's like 60 kilos. But if you've got a budget, you can't really go wrong. There's so many ways you can upgrade the CR10 easily, and there's lots of variations of it too. Oops, I hope I didn't just unplug myself then. I've been testing the CR10 Mini, for example, and it's awesome for the price. Hate to say that, but it is. Thanks for the $5, Reese. Appreciate it. Reese, what's your favorite burger at that chicken shop? That's not creepy at all. Oh man, that is a good chicken shop though. It is. Bryce is saying, Perth is not too bad at the moment, been raining today. Ah, awesome. I don't mind some rain. It hasn't rained here for a while. I would appreciate that. I love how some of you guys say you're getting printers at 11. Like, when I was 11 years old, what was I doing? I was probably... what I was doing is I was making Lego cars. So, like, little cars out of Lego. And I'd get with my cousin in the hallway of my parents' house. And we would ram them into each other. So we'd, like, shove them into each other and the cars would smash into each other and explode. And it was like a challenge to engineer the toughest Lego car. And eventually, because he was a bit older than me, he realized that he could build his car out of the plates. So the Lego plates, not the bricks. and it got to the point where like his car would actually break the bricks, like damage the Lego on my car. That's what I was doing when I was 11 years old. I wasn't 3D printing. I mean, I wish I was, but I'm so jealous of you dudes. Like, that is so cool. I appreciate the $5 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much, Lucas. Cheers for the advice. Keep up with the amazing videos. That's the plan, man. I appreciate it. I will be doing this for as long as possible. I love sharing my 3D printing experiences with you guys. It's awesome. Shane's saying where to start on Robot Wars designs. Well, it's basically like paper, scissors, rock, really. Some designs are better against others. So like a wedge will beat a spinner usually, but a spinner will usually break a lifter, or a lifter will usually beat a wedge. So I just watched loads of videos. Like, that's how I got started, and I found designs I liked and went from there. There is a rule set which you should pay attention to, but yeah, just watched loads of robot combat fights. Lord and Knight, is that a Rode mic? No, it is a Perception 120 from AKG. It is a very nice microphone, and it is attached to a Rode boom. So that's the Rode part. I do have a Rode broadcaster mic that Rode gave to me very nicely after I caught up with them at a YouTube conference once, which I use when I'm at trade shows where I interview people. You know, it's the type that you sort of go, so what do you think about this? Yes, interesting. That's what I use that one for. Corner Binder Kid, any chance you'll ever build an MP CNC, which I assume stands for the mostly printed CNC? Not at this stage, because I have other CNCs. I don't need to print one from scratch, but that's a cool project. If you're interested in getting into CNC and don't have much money and you have a 3D printer, the MP CNC is pretty neat actually, and it's quite rigid for its the fact it's made out of 3D printed parts and pipe. It's quite cool. Coastal Labs, given the mess and potential health risk, would you even suggest the Wanhao Duplicator 7? It's around $400-$500, so it's very viable. My phones are concerned. Yeah, look, I'll be honest. Resin 3D printers, I probably will do, I've mentioned it before, a health and safety video about resin printing in the new year, because the resin is pretty darn toxic. Do not touch it. Definitely don't consume it. Some of them have bad fumes. It's nasty stuff. It really is. So I'd be hesitant to recommend it to anyone who can't operate it in like a garage environment. Honestly, it's just getting that high detail is a bit tricky to outweigh the risks. Chris is saying I have the Moai, which I do need to set up. Moai is very, very good, high detail, but again, resin, pretty messy. It's pretty iffy to keep going safely. Creative 3D Technologies, in your opinion, what's the best way to start up a company having to do with 3D printing? Many do Kickstarters and take investments and go a traditional route. Thoughts? It's challenging, I'll be honest. Starting a 3D printing company now is tough. I was looking through Kickstarter, and while there was a glut of Kickstarter projects at the start of this year, there's been so many failures that not many people view Kickstarter positively anymore. It doesn't help that they've changed the layout. If you guys haven't been to Kickstarter recently, go check it out. The layout recently is like very hipster with tiny text. It looks awful. But there's been so many failures on Kickstarter in the 3D printing space that not many consumers trust it anymore. So you got to spend a lot of money on marketing, which is what a lot of these new ones are doing, the ones that survive. Honestly, I would try to build a social media fan base. Like, I would build up a YouTube channel with cool stuff that you're doing to do with your niche. If that's not possible, like if you're doing a niche that you can't really show off, like you're doing printing on demand for custom things, then I'd try to foster a repeat clientele. So you do a good job, and then they'll come back for more. One of my dad's favorite quotes, if he ever watches this, he gave me a mug which says it, is under promise and over deliver. That's a really good approach to that sort of design and printing business. If you can under promise and then over deliver, they'll always come back, and just build it up from there. Aussie Gamer, thanks for the $2. And Yosef, thank you, man. And Villain, Kmart is selling cordless drills for $22 again. feel free to get a spare. They make the best combat robot gearboxes. For the price, you can't beat them. That's awesome. I have to go get one. I appreciate it. I've got mine here. You know, I think the battery's dead. Yeah, it's pretty flat. So I'll probably have to get another one because I'll probably... the batteries on those don't last long. They stop charging properly very quickly. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really do appreciate it. It's been a very stressful week, and I really loved catching up with you. It makes me happy. 3D Printing Kid, Makers Muse, I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel mainly about 3D printing, and your reason I got inspired with the idea. How should I start? Do you have any tips? Look, I'll be honest, 3D printing on YouTube's become harder to get into now. Like, when I got into it, there wasn't many people doing it. Now there's a lot of people on YouTube, and the YouTube ecosystem's become more hostile than it was before, but just focus on something that you're interested in, and it should be unique to you, like a niche of some kind, and just keep doing it, and just be passionate about it. And if you're passionate about it, you'll build a fan base. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people trying to either do something they're not passionate about, and it's really obvious when people don't really care about what they're doing, or they'll just kind of do the same thing, and wonder why they're not growing. Like, I test things on Makers Muse, I grow it, but I'm always passionate about what I'm testing. So I do tutorials and reviews and this and that, and I'll see, like, okay, this got this many views, this got this many views, clearly people like this. For example, the recent watermarking video I did had a lot of great feedback from you guys, so I'm doing a second one. And that's a good example of listening to your audience, and just grow it from there. Pepito Papa. 3D printing nerd. Sorry if I'm missing questions, guys, as well. I don't have a helper at the moment. Maybe in the new year we'll have a better way to do this. Serious question. Since you work at home from home, mister, where to go? How do you separate your work life from your non-work life, or do you find it blends into each other? It absolutely blends. The issue is this computer is also my relaxation computer. Like, I play games on this computer, or I just browse YouTube on this computer. So it's a fine line of not overworking yourself and not becoming lazy, I guess, because I am my own boss. I could be like, nah, I don't feel like streaming, or like, oh, I don't feel like doing a video for the next couple of weeks. And yeah, sometimes you do hit emotional lows where you just, you are on camera. You have to be genuine. I can't be on here feeling depressed. I can't be on here feeling down, because you guys will know. And like, it's really obvious. So you do need to balance it between chilling and actually sharing your genuine feelings, because it's a personal brand. I am Makers Muse. I'm not like some employee at a company. So like, for example, I ended up buying a laptop which is downstairs connected to the TV, and like, me and Lady Muse, if I'm stressed or whatever, we'll just go to a different room, and that is the non-work room. It is near the kitchen, and like, no work happens there, and we'll just chill out. And that's like a forceful removal from the work. But yeah, it does definitely blur into each other, as you would very much know. Holy crap. Holy moly, what the heck, Jeffrey? I just wanted to test my Wi-Fi. Dude. I don't know what to say. Man, I am blown away by you guys every single week. I just love sharing my experiences, and I don't know what to say. Thank you. Like, it goes a very long way to helping me pay for things, but I would never ask for it. Oh my god. Shivel broke me before, and now Jeffrey's broken me even more. You're both champions. All of you are champions, actually, for joining me here. Thank you so much. Especially considering how late it is in America. Oh, man. Holy crap. Okay, I'm going to try to move. Thank you so much. Eric is saying, did you go to college and get an engineering degree? That's a great question. I just need a second. So I almost went to do engineering. I left high school and I did not know what I wanted to do. I did not get the marks for engineering. I didn't study the hardcore advanced mathematics because I was bad at maths. Um, so I got into engineering because I was doing combat robots at the time, and I went to an interview and they're like, "Look, the math's hard and you might struggle, but we'll let you in." But then I wasn't sure, so I took a year off. And during that year off, my parents were like, "Look, so, my parents were like, look, we don't want you to just bludge, so how about you do this internship, this apprenticeship, which was in electronics, and I went to do that. And during that, I worked with electronic engineers, and some of my friends went on to do engineering at uni, and I saw from them that it was just pure maths. And I'm like, look, I like to build things and design things. I hate maths. I'm not doing engineering. And my mentor was someone who had studied a cross between engineering and industrial design. It was a course available in I think somewhere in Melbourne, some university there. And he's like, look, Angus, you got a knack for industrial design. I'm like, what is industrial design? And he's like, look, it's designing things and items. Basically, what it boils down to is it's cheating engineering. You design the thing, and then the poor engineer has to do the hard work to make the darn thing work. And so I studied industrial design for 4 years in UTS, in University of Technology, Sydney, and I absolutely loved it. So we learnt SolidWorks, just like the engineers. We learnt some mathematical aspects to load bearing and ergonomics, but we learnt how to design things, which I just absolutely loved. So that's what I did. Sorry if I missed many questions. You guys are incredible. You don't... It goes to lads like donate $1,000. No, you guys don't have to. Please, really appreciate your support just by being here. Oh man. Snail Mail Games. Hey Angus, I have a question. Any advice on a 3D printer for a beginner to the hobby? I actually have a whole video on 3D printers under $350 that I recommend. I recommend go checking that out. It's still pretty current. I still think the Cetus is a great printer to start with for just printing. Oh, man. Okay, Brandon is asking... I think you guys can see the chat in the window. Yeah, you can. Based on your experience with 3D printing as a service, do you think very large prints are a viable service? No, maybe. You have to find I guess an industry that will pay what they're worth. For example, the March Hare on the M300. I talked in my review. It took 2.5 days. Your printer is offline for 2.5 days. If it fails, your printer will be offline for 3.5 days. Or a week, in some cases, when I used to do this as a job. And you have to charge enough for your time to be worthwhile. People think, oh, okay, the printer's just using electricity. No, it's using your time to set it up and make sure it doesn't fail. And if it fails, clean the print off. So, for some industries where large prints are a necessity, like architecture, yes, you can charge the $3,000-$4,000 that they're worth, in my opinion. But for individuals, no way. There's no way people see the value in large prints. In my experience, anyway, they think, why is this costing me $1,000? It should be $20, $50. They don't understand that 3D printing takes so much longer when it's scaled up like that. Oh man. I hope I haven't missed any. Sorry if I have. I really appreciate it. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Sean. Angus, you've been a great guide for my 3D printing. I've earned back the value of my printer twice from jobs I've done. That's awesome to hear. I really love hearing success stories like that. That's super cool. Thanks for letting me know. Also, new technology teacher in Sydney. Any info is helping me make fun classes. Sweet. That's awesome. I did a few classes for kids, a few clubs. For a while, I did a 3D printing class. One of the things that I found 3D printing was really good at was empowering the younger generation for like both boys and girls. I ran a year 7 3D printing club, and the girls outnumbered the boys in the class in terms of attendance, and they were printing like My Little Pony custom figurines because I taught them how to do it. I did a tutorial. If you guys don't know, there's a tutorial on Makers Muse on how to make your own custom My Little Pony figurines using an online generator. I showed them how to do it. and they went nuts. It was so cute. That's awesome to hear. Congrats, man. I really appreciate it. Jean-Francois is saying happy holidays a bit early. Thanks for all the help. No, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for just being here and hanging out. That's awesome, and I appreciate the $10. Mithilthar? Angus, have you seen the newest beta Up Studio? No, I haven't. Cool. Thanks for letting me know. I haven't used my Up Mini 2 since I moved. But yeah, have they added customizable supports in G-Code Preview? I hope so. I always tell them to do that. I'll check it out after this, actually. Thanks for letting me know. You guys are nuts. You guys are absolutely nuts. Thank you so much for joining me. Croto Flick saying I had the opportunity to study industrial design for 1.5 years. It definitely gives you a great appreciation for the field. Absolutely. I'm actually planning to talk about more design aspect things on the channel in future, because the CAD for Newbies tutorial is a bit of a segue. Like, you want to learn the tools, but then you want to learn how to apply design to use the tools, which is definitely going to be something we're going to talk about, like ergonomics and aesthetics, form follows function, things like that. That's what we might start talking about. I'm really passionate about that sort of thing. And Curry, thanks for the €5. Where'd it go? Thanks for making awesome videos. I've learned a lot watching your videos for over a month after ordering my first 3D printer, Prusa Mark III. Another Prusa Mark III. Awesome. Awesome, dude. Oh, man, that must be so popular. I'm so proud of Joseph. Like, he's my age. I don't know if you guys know it. Joseph is pretty much identical to my age. And he has built up such an empire. Like, I aspire to that. He is a champion, what he's done. Rory, welcome from Bris Vegas. Any suggestions on a good place to buy 3D printers in Oz? Great question. There's not many places left that resell printers in Oz that aren't just drop shippers. A lot of them will just drop ship from a supplier or maybe even overseas, which is not what you want. You want someone who knows what they're talking about. You can go talk to them and go into a studio. Look, in Brisbane, I'm not too familiar with anyone. I mean, you've got 3D Printer Gear in Melbourne. It's Jamie. You've got 3D Printing Systems who do the ups, but again, not everyone's into the ups. They're a bit of a lockdown system, but I like them. They're based in New Zealand, but have a warehouse in New South Wales somewhere as well. I don't know about Brisbane though. I mean, there's Empire through. No, oh man, I'm terrible with names. No, I don't know anyone in Brisbane that sells printers. Unfortunately, sorry. Bella's saying, can't wait to see the new place, maybe a good video. Yeah, I'll do a bit of a tour of this and the garage, not the whole house, because you don't need to see the whole house. But I will definitely fill you in with that. Awesome. I'm at the bottom of the chat now. I must have missed some things. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me, though. It's lots of fun. I've really had a blast. You guys are absolutely crazy. Inkjoint, new studio, yes. Yes, new studio. Man. Someone's saying in Brisbane there's Buildweek 3D. I didn't know they were in Brisbane, actually. I know they're in Sydney. But yeah, cool, okay. They must have another warehouse in Brisbane. Creative 3D Technologies. 5,000 to 8,000 3D printers. $5,000 to $8,000 3D printers. Z18 Gigabot Stacker. Sorry, Z18. Considered prosumer or industrial. I think the prosumer term is flexible. You see it get thrown around a bit, and honestly, it is what it is. Like, an individual will buy what they can afford that makes sense to them. Prosumer is a bit of a dumb term. It's just basically it's a consumer that can spend a bit more. You look at so let's say $8,000, right? That's expensive, right, for a 3D printer. But you're not even coming close to industrial level 3D printer costs. To put it in perspective, a Fortis 450MC, which is a Stratasys FDM system that prints in ABS polycarbonate blends with a soluble support, or even Ultem, which is a high temperature aerospace plastic, that will set you back around $400,000 Australian, maybe $350,000. So that's what, 200,000 US or something? I know in US they'll probably be cheaper because Australia we just get charged ridiculous amounts of money. But let's even say Fortis Uprint. That's like their lowest level one. That's about a $30,000 printer. That's a big jump. So it's sort of like you got the hobby stuff, which is like starts at $200, and then you've got the prosumer, which might top out, let's say 10,000, right? And then you've got Stratasys, and then you've got Objet Edens, and then you've got freaking EOS. Like it explodes off the scale. That's how the industrial ones work. It's just crazy. The prices are unbelievably high. Coastal Labs, given low-cost printers like the Tronxy X or Tron XY, what do you think will happen to sites like 3D printing hubs? Look, again, that's a printing as a hobby to printing as a service. As the Tronxy X1 is a good printer, but it's not reliable in the sense that you can just always get something done, and not everyone wants to do that. If you're an industrial designer, again, most of the time, you want to spend your time designing concepts. And then you go send it off to someone else to print it, and then a few days later it arrives. You don't have to worry about that. You just pay money and you're guaranteed a return print that is good quality. Now, 3D Hubs is using individuals, which may or may not have good quality, but it's sort of guaranteeing it in a way. Whereas if you're printing by yourself, you have to keep the printers maintained, you have to keep them filled up with filament, you might not have the right color. It's just paying. It's like cleaning. It's like I could pay someone to clean this house, or I could clean it myself. What's that worth to you? I guess that's a good analogy. Nerdly, Euro 3D, any promise for future? Oh man, I haven't heard anything from Euro 3D for a while. I'll have to look into it. Apparently they started shipping. Someone told me last time it was mentioned, but they're in Sydney and they were going to send me one to test out, but yeah, I haven't heard anything from them. As some of you might understand, I don't really have time to reach out to these companies for reviews. So if Eora catches wind of this and they have one to test out, I'd be happy to test out an Australian 3D scanner. Dizzing off, thank you so much, man, for the comment. Oh man, I'm such a fan of your work. I've always been a fan since I got into 3D printing. I really appreciate the comment. Surrealistic Pillow, did you ever try to print molds for casting silicon parts? Not yet. That's something that I needed a dirty workspace to do. You need, with silicon and casting in general, you don't want it to spill onto carpet, for example. So you need kind of a garage or environment where spills and mess don't really matter, which I have now. So I'm actually wanting to do chocolate molds. I really, really, really want to 3D print something and make a silicon chocolate mold with it. And Lady Muse is very interested in that idea too. I'd like to try that out. All right. Where are you? Let's go do a live. Where block? There you go. Bye bye. Clean your hair. No. TD 2D animation. Can you make a video about how to calibrate the Up Mini with a new program? I tried a while ago to make a G-code video on using custom G-code on the Ups. It was disastrous. I haven't tried lately, but there was a lot of tweaking you had to do that was very strange. Like the flow rate had to be 20 for other slicers versus the Up slicer. So I might try again, but honestly, I just use the Up slicer for the Ups. It works really well, and that's what I stick with. I've never really had any issues. Jim's saying chocolate maker coins. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Chocolate maker coins are really ace idea. I might try that. Coastal Labs, and a question on the stream, oh no, lust or bust? I'm going with bust. Yeah, look, I looked recently, they do have a recent update from a couple of days ago saying that they've had to redesign boards based around the signal output of the audio jack, but someone commented on that saying that, look, I've gone through 2 generations of mobile phones since I backed this campaign, and now none of the phones have audio jacks. So, look, it again, I never said the technology doesn't work. I just said it's a terrible idea. and it's definitely leaning towards the terrible idea part of it now. They're struggling with fulfillment and making it reliable enough to send out because, look, 3D printing at the best of times is difficult. 3D printing with resin is difficult. 3D printing with resin that you can't even see the print in progress, that's... so many things can go wrong. So, yeah. Hey, Makers Muse, have you know about 3D printer with plasma technology from the company Essentium? The hot end's called Fusebox. No, I have not heard of that. I will check it out. Inforth is saying, could you go straight to the mold using flexible plastic? Good question, actually. Talking about the chocolate molds, I would never use 3D printed components for food contact. And I talk about this in streams a lot. The reason is not because I don't think the filament itself's not food safe. It's because the layer lines have stuff that get stuck in them. So what I would have to do is I'd probably print masters, which is the object that will eventually become chocolate, in probably Polymaker Poly Smooth or an ABS and acetone smooth it. So that way you remove the layer lines and then you cast a nice clean silicon mold. But if you printed a silicon mold or a TPU mold, even if it's food safe, it's got those lines and the food gets stuck in them. That's the issue. That food cannot be cleaned properly and therefore it's not safe. That's the killer for food safe printing, 3D printing with FDM. That's the issue right there. The layer lines trap food. Sahil Molla is asking, why does nobody use polar printers? That's a fantastic question, actually. No one's ever asked that. If you guys don't know what polar printers are, or for that matter, SCARA, it's a different mechanical movement which uses rotational axes to move items out and back and to control a very strange, it's usually like an arc print volume, not a square. The issue with polar, and I'm more familiar with SCARA, I'll be honest, I don't know if there is differences. Inwards, close to the build volume, it's higher accuracy, but further out, the indexing becomes greater. So you lose accuracy the further out you go, which is very hard to account for in software. It's very sophisticated. But there has been a few Polar and a few SCARA designs for 3D printers. It's hard to get rigid and it's hard to make reliable and as accurate as a traditional Cartesian. Simple as that. But it does look very cool. I would love a SCARA 3D printer. I think it looks fantastic. SCARA is one of my favorite arms. They're very what does it stand for? Selectively constrained, something like that. They're cool. Check out SCARA arms on YouTube after this stream. They're really nuts. I love them. Amir is saying, as a 17-year-old opening a makerspace, I want to ask you how you can explain maker movement and making to someone who does not know anything about it. Look, like everything, it's like a sort of coined term that encompasses a broad range of people. I've heard maker movement describe people who are into embroidery, to people who do cabinet making, to 3D printing. It's just people who like to create things. People that like to create physical objects. And yeah, that's the simplest way I can describe it. And a makerspace can reflect any of those disciplines depending on what you want to put in them. Rover's saying, could you coat something with food? Could you coat something food grade to finish it of some type? Yes, you probably could. You probably could get a print and then coat it with some sort of food safe silicone, which would fill in the gaps and make it food safe. That would probably work, actually. Whether or not it's better to just make a mold, I'm not sure, but that would probably work. That would probably be okay. But I don't know how you'd wash it in your dishwasher because PLA doesn't really like heat. Whereas silicon's very temperature resistant. You're very good, no issues at all putting hot things in silicon. How to English? I don't know. I'm still broken from Jeffrey. You're a champion, man. I don't know what to say about that. And Bruce, you guys are crazy. And Shivel from the previous stream. Mayu's asking, where did I get the Kuka from and how much? I need to make a video about this. It wasn't my robot. I never really explained it though. Just going back to the story again, for a short period of time, I had a temporary studio at the University of New South Wales in Sydney as part of their Maker on display project. I don't remember exactly what it was called. Maker in Residence. There you go. And it was a glass-walled room where I was using for free to run Makers Muse. And the space was called the Michael Crouch Innovation Center, sponsored by Mr. Michael Crouch, who I did meet, and he's the inventor of the tap, which has the hot and cold and fizzy water that comes out of it. Like, he's a multi-millionaire, if not billionaire, for inventing a tap. He's a really nice old guy. I met him, actually. But anyway, he's funded this space at UNSW, and Kuka gave that space a robot arm to borrow. And it lived in my room. It wasn't mine. I did play with it a bit, but Kuka didn't provide the proper software to run it, so we only ever use it in training mode, and it's still there, I think. So if Kuka ever watches these videos and you would like me to do a video on robot arms, I know they're doing something amazing with Simone Gertz, the queen of crappy robots, whatever. I'm not going to say how it's actually pronounced because I want to try to keep this monetized, but she also got a Kuka robot. Let's just test it. Queen of shitty robots. And she got a robot from Kuka to do streams with. So if they ever watch this and they want an Australian to test out their robots, then I would love to. Yeah, Martin. Oh my god, my first live stream on YouTube. Welcome, Martin. Thank you so much for joining. I do appreciate it. Ron is saying, how about a tilting hot end printer like a 5-axis machining center? There's been some experiments on that. There's been some research papers. At the end of the day, FDM is what it is. I did some tests early on printing upside down. So turning an FDM printer upside down, and the print quality didn't really change. And that's sort of to do with the fact that the plastic drags itself around as it prints. So the bottom of spheres is a good example. The bottom of spheres with FDM always looks worse than the top. That's because it's going out from itself and it doesn't really know how to support itself. It's just, it can't quite do it nicely. But going into itself at the top, it looks good. Turning the printer upside down made no difference. The sphere still looked bad at the bottom, which means it's not a gravity thing. It means it's just the part of the printing process. So tilting the nozzle might relieve a few issues with artifacting, but really I think what we need to see more of is variable Z printing, which there's been some experiments in where the Z will sort of rise up along contours to cover them properly instead of just doing discrete layers as they get to the top. There was a research paper on that recently. I've forgotten what it was. It was when I was moving. But that's a better way to hide layer inconsistencies rather than, I think, a tilting nozzle. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong. Someone's saying you could kludge up an extruder and print chocolate directly. Yeah, you could actually. That was my research project at university. A cupcake icing and chocolate printer, which had a progressing cavity pump with a heater around it that would push fondant through. And the idea was to warm it up and then extrude it out a hot end. Not hot end, like a nozzle, using a progressing cavity pump. It was printed from other parts and you couldn't eat anything it made, but it did extrude. It did actually work. I'd love to visit that again one day. I print myself more clones so I have more time. Balance options. Angus, how do you prevent supports going through your model with Simplify 3D other than pillar resolution? Look, if you go to your G-code preview, they shouldn't be actually touching the model. Like, they might look like they're intersecting, but there should be a tiny gap between the supports in your model. Like, Simplify 3D will sort of intelligently make sure they don't touch. In theory. That might be it. But yeah, you can change your pillar resolution as well if that helps. Oh man, I got Japman. Welcome, dude. He's saying, hey, you're still live. Yep, still live for the moment. I'm probably going to finish up shortly. I've been really enjoying this stream with you guys. wanted to fill you in again with what we're doing. If you come in just recently, this will be the first. Well, this is again the first stream from the new space, but it will be the last stream of 2017 from this new space because we're going somewhere for Christmas. There'll probably be streams from other places. And I've got some awesome content queued up, but unfortunately the budget makerspace build has not been done in time. I do not have time to film it, so that will have to wait till January, but I've got a follow-up on the 3D watermarking video because lots of you had awesome suggestions. I got a video talking about this thing and going through all of your prints for the guys that have printed this. Thanks for, again, if you've printed this, thank you for your support. And a few other things, but yeah, it's going to be pretty chill and laid back till the new year because it's Christmas, guys, and we're going to spend time with our families. That's how it is. Jacob saying, do you prefer a certain slicer? I don't know. It depends on the printer. I use Simplify 3D a lot for like my old Wanhao i3 with a Flexion. But I use the Prusa slicer or even just the Prusa control for the Prusa printers because it's designed for it, and I'll use the up slicer for the ups. Or I use Idea Maker as well when I'm testing new machines now. I like Idea Maker quite a lot. I do have a video on my top favorite free slicers actually, and Idea Maker is probably my favorite. I quite like that. Yeah, so no, depends on the application. Probably just a couple more question dudes. People are talking about snow. It's definitely not going to snow here. I'm keen to see some of those snow photos from you guys over there in the States, but yeah, it's very sunny here. Definitely not going to snow this Christmas. Pele's saying, but imagine the overhangs we could have, or could do if we could selectively tilt the printer. Yeah, look, possibly. But I don't know, like, I don't really feel limited by my printers these days. I used to feel limited because support material wasn't easy to do and it would be hard to remove. But these days, like, you can do stuff like this pretty easily, and support material comes away quite simply. So I don't feel limited very much. As long as I got a solid base of some kind, I usually know, at least if the printer's reliable, that it's going to work. And Joel's out. No worries, dude. I'll see you around. Justin saying, Angus, thank you so much. This seems like an unusual problem. I get poor bed adhesion with PLA and stringing on the first layer, but great adhesion with ABS. What can I do to solve this? That is a strange problem. Your bed may be too hot, actually. You may be extruding too hot because if you put more heat into the PLA, it'll shrink more and therefore you get warping from PLA. That might be why. But yeah, that's strange. I don't know what your surface is, your print surface. Yeah, sorry. Probably too hot, that's my guess. Cool. Alright guys, I'm probably going to end it there. This has been fantastic. Look, I am blown away by your support. I can't thank you enough for just joining me here, for your donations, which are never expected. I appreciate it. Well, like, I absolutely appreciate it nonetheless. It's been amazing. And I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, I really appreciate it, guys. And look, shout out to my fellow channels. This Christmas, there's a lot of creators who have just gotten the Mark IIIs from Joseph, like the 3D Maker noob, Joe, Joel over at 3D Printing Nerd, doing some awesome stuff, and Japman, Dustin has moved over to Twitch recently, who's doing the amazing 3D Printing Tonight channel show. So go check those guys out. There's so many more I could shout out to. But I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Really appreciate it. And yeah, happy printing. Have a fantastic holiday period. Look forward to some more videos from me and probably some more streams. And I look forward to seeing you again very shortly here on Makers Muse. Catch you later, guys. Bye.